Good morning. Welcome to the weekly analysis for June 7th. Um, I'm just going to hop right in and get started. So, first things first, is GBP JPY. And as we know, if we look at the big picture, as always, we are in bearish structure. So, um, and there is a leg of structure here. I'm going to mark that there. That high has been swept. So now I want to go over to the area where the sweep happened. So as we can see, we are in bullish structure up to that zone. And now because this high has been swept, I just want to see exactly, I can tell from here that there's no shift in structure yet. So I'm just going to go down in time frame and look at the structure as I get closer to that sweep. So we currently have this swing low here. And of course, this is our swing high here. So um, let's go down to the daily. So now within the daily, I can see some form or shift in structure. And where I see that is here. We had this break here, and then we had a shift here, a market structure shift here. Now, this could just be the pullback to mitigate this demand zone. But for me, I'm seeing it as a shift in structure. So price is either going to come to this supply zone, which it has tapped already, and started selling, but it still hasn't shifted structure yet. So as you can see, this internal structure here has not been shifted yet. So I'm now going to go down to the 4-hour. And let me go back to the daily so I can mark up this structure. So we have internal structure here. Price has not closed below that low as of yet. So now that we're in the 4-hour, once price gets to this zone, that's when I can look at the current supply and demand. If price does not close below here, it might sweep it, and then it may continue to buy up before selling again, or it could just keep going to the upside. And when I say it could just keep going to the upside, or because if I fib this move, if I fib this full move down, I really want price. I would prefer to take a sell or look for a sell once it tapped this 78. Once it taps the 78, it has to shift structure. So just because it taps the 78 doesn't mean it's going to, and it may just give it may give a good sell down. But on a smaller time frame, I need to see a shift in structure. So with that being said, let's go back to the 4-hour. I'm going to set an alert here for GJ to possibly buy back up into somewhere in this supply zone. And I'm going to put this right here. So look for it to buy back up into the supply zone Or if it shifts this structure, meaning close below, then this right here would be my new supply zone. But it has to close below. So if that's the case, and then I try to, let's see if I narrow it down. So now I'm narrowing my supply zone down to here, or you can just leave it here and see what happens once it gets into that zone. If you trade, if you trade imbalances, it might tap into this imbalance and then start selling. There's also an imbalance above. However, I'm just looking at the candles that makes this that is making this a supply zone. These were all the last up candles before this down move. So that is what I am looking for GBP, JPY. All right. Um, and if it sells from whether it sells from here or if it sells from here, I would be looking to take it to this last low. This would be my TP. Okay. So I am going to wait for confirmation. I will wait for confirmation. There's a little imbalance over here, so it can tap into that imbalance and then start buying back up. All right. GU. GU. Let's look at the monthly. Let's look at the structure. Look at the big picture. We can see that structure is here, 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 and here. So we are approaching, and let me just confirm. Let me go to the, okay. So we are approaching this one has already been filled. So we are approaching this current supply zone just based off of structure. Okay. And we can see we're in bullish structure up to that zone. Have here, here. Price did not close below here. And we pushed up. So we're in this leg of structure right here. We're at this swing low. This is our swing high. Price has not closed above it. Right now it's consolidating. It could be the next push up for the sell, or if I go down in time frame, but let me mark up this swing high and then this swing low here. Okay, so let's go down to the daily. So on the daily, we had a break, and I'm good with a break on a daily. So with that being said, this is now my swing low. Oops. This is now my swing low that I'm looking for price to either close below or pull back to start buying because we're in internal structure here. So if that is the case, then I need to see price pull back to my last demand zone, which is here. And I'm just going to cover all the way to the low. Okay. Matter of fact, I'll just mark up this last candle right here. So I want to see price pull back to this low. Now we can see that price pushed up, broke this high, shifted structure, right? Shifted structure. So price could come back to this supply zone, price could come back to this supply zone to sell back down to, um, now it did pull back, it did shift again. So now we just have to see what's going to happen here. Is it going to come here and start buying back up? Is it going to close below, pull back, and then sell back down? We don't know, but we have to wait for the market to show us what it wants to do. Allow the market to show you what it wants to do. Okay. So, um, and because again, I want price to come up here, I really should just be looking for buys. So I would be looking for buys from somewhere. There's a low, there's an imbalance there, there's an imbalance over there, there's a demand here. So I would be waiting for price, and I'm going to set an alert, add alert. I would be waiting for price to come here to buy up some more, or at least to this high. Okay. So I have an alert set. If price sells below here, that's cool. I can possibly look for a quick day trade to this demand zone. But if it just comes here, there's also a demand here because it shifted structure here. Price came here, price closed below here, and then it shifted structure. So it could be coming back to this demand zone, but this could just be liquidity for a sweep to then start buying. That's my thoughts for GU. Yeah, that's my thoughts for GU. Let's go to gold. Gold, gold, gold. I can see this structure here. Okay. So once I see that structure, I want to then go and mark up my demand zone. And I'm just going to mark here for now. This is looking like a demand zone. As we can see, price closed below here. So we're still in bearish structure. Price pulled back to an imbalance, couple of imbalances there, and then started selling down. So what I also see is, or what I mark up is a key level, right? So now that we are at this key level, price can do a couple of things. So let's go down to the 4-hour. Let's identify the current bearish structure. As we can see, price broke structure here. So this is making this my swing high. And currently, this is my swing low. All right. So this internal structure here, this is our internal structure. I'm going to go down to the 1-hour. I mean, the internal structure is going to be an internal structure. There could be some internal to the internal, but let's go to the 15. So based on the 15-minute, here's an internal here. So if price closes above, it gives an impulsive move and closes above this internal high here, I would be looking or seeking to possibly buy gold at least up to, um, so if price broke here, this is another high here. So at least up to this high. Or if you want to take it up to this high and hit TP, you can take it from there because it could go there and it could start selling some more. We're still in bearish structure. So know that price can pull back to any point. And if I fib this bearish move, this bearish structure move, this is 50%. Anything 50%, 618, 78, 88 is a valid move for a shift in structure. Okay, so this is what I would be looking for gold. However, I have to give the alternative because it's still bearish. The alternative is, well, the first one was the alternative. However, we're still in bearish structure. There is a supply zone. I mean, yeah, a supply zone here. So price can come into this zone and sell. Price could come into this 15-minute supply to keep selling. So patience, 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 patience. Um, and I'm just going to mark the high because it could sweep and then it could shift to start selling some more. All right. Next we have SPF. All I know is price broke structure here. Oops. Oops, 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 oops. Price broke structure here. We have this demand zone. So if I were going to buy the S&P, I would want price to pull back to this zone before buying again. Because price is definitely too high to buy right now. Now, because this could definitely, or this could pull back. Let me go to the weekly. All right. And as we can see, based on the week, last week was very bearish. Again, if you trade imbalances, there's liquidity, right? There's liquidity, right? Okay, that was already swept, but there's liquidity here. There's an imbalance in here. Price could tap into that imbalance and start buying some more. So you can chance taking a buy from there, or you can wait to see, or at least put, if you're going to buy from there, at least put an alert. Okay, put an alert here. And once you get an alert, look at what the structure is giving you or telling you. Okay. Um, look at what the structure is telling you. I personally think it's probably going to blow through this imbalance. You see, there's a daily structure here. This impulsive move, it might blow through this imbalance and come down, back down to this zone. And of course, now you would narrow your zone, but I'm going to leave it there because this is a key level right here. You see how many times price came and tapped and tapped and tapped and tapped and tapped. So price could sell either back to this zone or come back to this demand zone here. So I would hold off on, and I mean, unless you're going to hop in a sell, but I would definitely be looking for buys for the S&P once it reached um, either here, this key level, preferably this key level, or preferably this demand zone. And I'm guessing the same thing is happening for the NASDAQ and for the Dow Jones. Okay. You can mark up your key level, which is here. You can see that. All right. You have imbalance here. You can mark up your imbalance. Set an alert. If you see a shift in structure, then you on lower time frame, then you can trade from that zone or based on that shift. So, and I'm going to say the same thing for US 30. US 30's key level is a little different. It's here. So price could come back here. There is a little demand there. So price could come here and keep buying. Or let's go to the daily. And you see how it broke through. It pulled back, tapped, pushed up again. So there's a little structure here, but then you have this consolidation. So price can shift this structure, pull back to this key level and sell some more, or pull back to the key level and start buying some more. The market, as Friday was a bearish day, so we don't know if it's going to close below this structure or tap into it and keep buying. And that's pretty much all I have for this week as of right now. I don't see, I can't call anything as of yet. But once the market opens, I can definitely take a look sometime tomorrow. Oh, let me look at, okay. So I don't remember last time I talked about Ethereum. But as we can see, price is in a demand zone for Ethereum. Let's look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is saying that we're bullish, right? We are bullish. Then we had a shift in structure right here. And this is why looking at the big picture is important. And then once we had this shift in structure, we had price pull back to a supply zone and started shifting structure again from that supply zone. So, well, technically it hasn't shifted structure. Let me say that. So this was once it shifted structure, this was our swing low. Okay. And then this was our swing high. So technically it has not shifted external structure yet. Price came here, it pulled back, it pushed up. Matter of fact, it broke structure up this way. So price is now in a demand zone to possibly buy. Did y'all get that? So once it shifted this structure, it pulled back to the supply zone. It pulled back to really another demand zone. But then it broke structure here. You have a break of structure there. So now you have this demand zone, and I'm sure I started here and worked my way down to the weekly. Let's see what the daily is given. So to this daily demand zone, right? So now I can see the structure that formed getting to that demand zone. Okay. So now I would be looking for structure to form somewhere within here. There's no structure yet. I don't see it. If you see it, then I'm looking for a shift for and then pull back to then start buying. You can take it up to this swing high. You can take it up to or hold it up to this high. But as of right now, I don't see any structure form to look for this buy. You can take it up to this high because this is still bearish structure. This is still our bearish structure. So price could come here and keep selling. Okay. But with that being said, we're in a higher time frame demand zone. So we can look for price. If it doesn't close below this low, we can look for price to start buying. Again, at least take out this high or buy up to the zone, or I feel like it's probably going to go up to this high. Okay. So that's my thoughts on Ethereum. Let me see what Bitcoin is doing, which is probably going to be the same thing. I haven't looked at this in a while either. Okay. Okay. Wait a minute. Let me clear this off. So if I look at the bigger picture, I'm on the monthly. I can see we had a break here. Okay. I can see we had a break here. And then I can see we had a break here. All right. So with that being said, there was a shift in structure here. I can see let's mark up this little key level here. Okay. So price is at a key level. It did shift structure. It could come from here, shift, and then keep buying, or it can keep breaking these lows, pull back, and then start selling back down to at least this next leg of structure, or it actually is another key level right here. So I can see if price is going to continue selling, I can see it selling down to here. That's for Bitcoin. And so let's go to the weekly. Based on the weekly, if I'm looking at the structure that's being formed down to the zone, we can see this internal break here. So we have this internal supply zone. So price, this was the break here. This was the swing high. This was the swing low. Price has not closed below this low. So price could push back into this zone and sell some more, or create another leg of structure, which means it will have to break below this low, pull back, and then sell some more. So if you're trading any kind of crypto, that's what I would be looking for. And that is all that I have. If there's anything you want me to look at, let me know. I'll record a video and drop it in the chat. Happy trading.